$117,000. If it sounds like a lot of money, that's because it is. It's the extra amount of interest paid on a 30-year mortgage when interest rates were at 6.5% in 2006. Today, rates are around 4%. Amortization over 30 years is strategically calculated so that you repay the majority of the interest at the start of your loan. Or simply put, it takes longer to gain equity. A $200,000 mortgage in 2006 is $117,000 more expensive than the same amount in today's market. And 4% won't be around forever. Interest rates are on the rise again. Rising interest rates are an important current event, and since one entity, the U.S. Federal Reserve System, controls how much it costs Americans to borrow money. Do we know why interest rates remain low for so long, or how the Fed finally made their decision to increase rates? And what is expected for the economy next? Generation Y is beginning their era in the housing and job market, but a false sense of security is looming over millennials that interest rates will always be affordable. Marilyn Giwax, a senior editor at NPR, feels that the Fed has been depressing interest rates for so long that in their adult lifetimes, millennials have never seen anything other than cheap loans for homes and cars. As a millennial who has worked in the banking and lending industry for the past 10 years, I have diligently followed the financial crisis and reform. With excessive challenges millennials have faced with student loans, the job market, and cost of living, rising interest rates are the newest concern that will impact our future financial lives. First, I will describe why interest rates have been low for so long. Second, I will examine how the rates have begun to rise. And third, I will discuss how the economy has responded thus far and what is expected to happen next. Why interest rates have been historically low for almost a decade. The collapse of the housing market and economic recession caused the Fed to keep interest rates artificially low. The last time the Fed raised rates before the crash was in 2006. In 2007, as the real estate market began to collapse, then Chairman of the U.S. Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke, called upon the nation's central bank to artificially lower rates by supplying funds. Over the next 14 months, Bernanke cut the Federal Reserve funds rate 10 separate times, down to practically zero. With the knowledge of how and why we've seen such low rates, let's focus on what recently happened over the last 18 months since Janet Yellen, the current chair of the Federal Reserve, introduced the first interest rate increase. The anticipation of rising interest rates is finally coming to fruition. In 2014, Yellen predicted that interest rates would soon increase. Interest rates began to increase 0.25% at a time, at first in December of 2015, and a year later at the end of 2016. At the start of 2017, Yellen predicted 3 more rate hikes by the new year. March and June both provided 2 more 0.25% increases, and the next Fed meeting is in September. Now that the Federal Reserve has taken action on increasing rates, they've also predicted that the economy will continue to grow. In theory, a growing economy is the same as a strengthening economy. Remember, we are in the infancy of a post-recession America. Think of it like a terrible accident that leaves your arms and legs broken. Before you can begin to rebuild the muscle, you first have to allow the injury to heal. Think of America as just getting their casts off. The arms and legs are healed, but remain vulnerable to another break if too much stress is applied too quickly. This is why Yellen's taking a more methodical approach about rebuilding the funds from the U.S. Central Bank without causing an economic setback. How do we know which way our country's economic status will go? There are many variables to consider when we think about the future. As the executive and legislative branches of our government shift to Republican-led leadership, we expect to see less financial regulation. President Donald Trump and Congress remain steadfast on their commitment to repeal the heavily regulated Dodd-Frank Act. The financial legislation drafted during the Obama administration is partly intended to protect consumers from irresponsible lending practices that contributed towards the housing bubble. Zillow chief economic strategist Dr. Svenja Goodell believes that when you combine higher mortgage rates with increasing home values, mortgage affordability starts to suffer, and buyers will have to spend more and more and more on their monthly payments. Lower mortgage amounts also causes overinflated home prices in particularly hot real estate markets. San Francisco, Southern California, and Manhattan home values are astronomically higher than the median U.S. home value at around $194,000. Conditions in these markets could be foreshadowing another real estate bubble. Interest rates have remained artificially low with the help from the U.S. Federal Reserve System and the U.S. Central Bank. Janet Yellen is slowly raising rates and pulling back the assistance from the U.S. Central Bank. We cannot make guarantees about the future of our economy, but we can look at current conditions to better gauge what will happen next. Rising interest rates are a collectively important topic as they control how much it costs Americans to borrow money. Understanding why rates stayed low for so long and what's expected for our country's economic recovery gives us a better insight on how to plan for our financial futures.